Welcome to another episode of The Sacred Darkness with me, Makena. And I would like to acknowledge each and every one of you who have subscribed to this channel. There's a very specific reason why you chose to do so. And my deepest desire is that everything that I share with you, well, not everything, but a lot of it resonates with you. I really do see myself more as a messenger than anything else. And speaking of which, one of you guys did send me a comment that definitely piqued my interest. Somebody said, I would like to understand what you're saying in layman's terms. So I was assuming that they meant, what do you mean when you talk about having a healthy relationship with your triggers? Triggers are deeply rooted defense mechanisms whose sole aim is to protect you. They're like that one friend who was there for you when you were hurting the most. And your anger, your passive aggression, even your rage, they've been the only line of defense for you when no one and nothing else was there for you. But now you're at a point where you're realizing that these same triggers are actually doing you more harm than good. And you're starting to see that relationships are getting compromised. You're sabotaging opportunities. And you're at a point now where you're exhausted from being on high alert all the time. So, how does this journey of healing that part of us, that part that gets triggered like a wounded animal, even start? Well, first we need to understand what triggers actually are. Not what we've been told they are, but what they're really doing. So, think of triggers as a very well-defined defense mechanism. They're like your best friend in the whole entire world. And they also happen to be your bodyguard. And they will make sure that nobody messes with you. Not even the ones who genuinely mean you well and want the best for you. Everybody gets it. It aims for and blasts anyone who gets too close. And it doesn't discriminate. And honestly, look at how we were taught to look at triggers. They are bad. They make us look bad, and the best thing to do is to avoid them at all costs. But how can you avoid such an intricate part of you? A part that was violated, neglected, and left to fend for itself. Who else was there for you when you were left alone to figure this world out? Who had to create something to protect you, to keep you from harm's way? And this is exactly what the work of your trigger is, or your triggers are. But you're probably watching this video because you realize just how much damage this very same mechanism has done in your life. You have lost really good relationships, maybe even fantastic opportunities, simply because your nervous system was not ready for them. I need you to forgive yourself for everything your mind and body did to protect you right till this point. Because how in the world could you have possibly known that this was happening? And now you do. Now you know. And because you know, I want you to realize something. This is not something that can be resolved in a day or two, especially not for most of us. Some people can be so tired of having the same behavior over and over and over again that they can change in an instant. And maybe some of you might be that way, but many of us might need a bit more work. And by work, I don't mean scrutinizing yourself or practicing self-correction. Absolutely not. Because this is only going to aggravate that defense mechanism that triggers you. I would like for you to do this for the next month for me. The next time you get triggered by someone or something, and that defense mechanism comes up to protect you once more, I want you to do your very best to show real kindness and compassion towards yourself when it's over. Because in those moments, you may not be able to catch yourself in the middle of an anger fit or a feeling of anxiety that genuinely overwhelms you. So after it all washes over you, I want you to sit with yourself. Sit with that inner part of you because it needs you the most in that particular moment. It needs you to be kind, to be soft. It needs you to understand why it works the way it does. You need the most care and compassion in these moments, not criticism, not self-loathing, not self-flogging. And here's an example. How would you talk to your 12-year-old child who's sitting in their room after they've locked themselves in when they've thrown a really huge tantrum? Wouldn't you want to wait for them to calm down? Then after that, you can walk into their room and speak gently with them and maybe just sit with them. I need you to do the very same thing for yourself. I need you to show a lot more love and compassion towards yourself than you ever have before. I need you to start training yourself to speak and talk differently to yourself. And this is where self-parenting actually begins. And you might even be asking yourself, what in the world is self-parenting? Well, it's the act of treating yourself the way you would have wanted to be treated when you were a child by your parent. Because every single one of us has an inner child. And some of us are more wounded than others. But what I've discovered and what I've realized about those of us who are genuinely wounded and continuously defend ourselves, we are the ones who are actually the most abusive towards ourselves. You should hear yourself and how you talk to yourself when you've done something wrong. You say the worst stuff to yourself. You call yourself an idiot. What is wrong with you? Why did you do that again? Now we look like total idiots. And honestly, the question is, how is that going to help you? How has it helped you? It has kept you in a perpetual cycle of feeling worthless, feeling like you're never going to succeed at relationships or at being mature enough with dealing with certain challenges. It keeps you in this same spot and it leaves you feeling anxious, it leaves you feeling angry, fearful, envious, jealous. And the idea here is to actually start talking to ourselves and to that inner child the way we would have wanted to be spoken to when we needed it the most. Speak to yourself with self-respect, with trust, with honor. And you know when you need to do that the most? You need to do that the most when you are broken. When that thing has happened yet again and you reacted in exactly the same way. That is not the time to talk shit to yourself. That is the time to be genuinely kind and compassionate. And in all honesty, this is exactly what I needed to get myself out of that perpetual cycle of anger and rage. And thankfully, in my most intimate and deepest relationships, people don't have to walk over eggshells. Was it walk around eggshells? What's that term? With me anymore. They don't have to act that way. Because now I am capable of separating myself from what somebody tells me, and instead of immediately lunging to them, I'm actually able to really think about what they've said first and then respond instead of immediately reacting. And that took time. But I realize now that talking to myself like a drill sergeant was never going to work for me. It was only when I talked to myself with self-respect. And I apologized when I needed to. If I hurt that person, I made sure to apologize to them. And I also told myself, whether they accept your apology or not, as long as it was sincere, you did your best. That is their process. Respect their process. But you can never abandon yourself. You are the same person who needs to get yourself to where you want to go. And you need that fuel. You need that fire. So the only way you can get that fuel is by constantly encouraging yourself, motivating yourself, speaking words of life into you. So my hope is that this video helps you genuinely understand what it really means now to have a healthy relationship with your defense mechanisms and your triggers. Until the next video, take good care of yourselves, and bye for now.